Hey everyone, this is Steve from Echo, and this is the last video for this episode. We're going to be talking about in-betweening. Now, Richard Williams stated that every drawing is important, and I couldn't agree further. Uh, in-betweens, in my personal opinion, can make or break a production. Bad in-betweens are a result of bad direction, and I know a lot of senior guys are cringing at that. Oh, it's not my fault, but the reality is it's true. If you provide very poor directions to your assistant or in-betweener, then they're just going to follow whatever you've given them. Uh, but on the other hand, too, if an assistant is not asking questions when they get stuck, then everybody's sort of, the blame is equal. Um, so in this shot, what I'm doing is I've got my timing chart, set off to the side. We'll go over timing and spacing in another episode. But what I'm doing is I've already got my in-betweens plotted out, and I have my directions. I'm going to be easing out from the closed position and easing into the new position. And because I have such a large arc, for the thumb, for the digits, for the palm, and the wrist, I'm going to be doing things on ones, right at the apex of the arc. Now, as an in-betweener, your main responsibility is volume control. I mean, you have to pay attention to the timing chart. You do have to make sure that your drawings have mass, weight, but really it's volume control. There's so much change happening between, all the different parts and bits of a character or prop, and it's easy to get lost in all the details. Now, the way I'm approaching this, and this is just one of many ways, is because I'm in-betweening it myself, I'm just going ahead and doing all the bits, all the digits and the palm and the wrist, etc. But if you do have complex drawings, the best thing to do is to break it down into basic shapes and then go back in and do everything one at a time. So you would probably start off with the palm, and then animate the palm according to the timing chart, and then go back again, and then break down each digit or finger. And in that way, you can kind of get more animation. You can get more subtleties when you do things one by one. But also the problem that you run into when you're on production is that unless you're really fast, that's not going to help. You have to be able to do things quickly in a production setting. So again, pay attention to the timing chart, that your drawings have mass and weight, and that you're always, constantly checking the volume. You don't want things to warp as things are moving about. You don't want a finger to narrow out or extend too much or shorten. You want to make sure that everything is staying all together. It's not mechanical, it's but it does have believability that everything is sort of in 3D space. So what you want to do is watch your arcs. By paying attention to the timing chart, you follow the spacing, and then again, your best resource, if you don't know what you're doing, you just ask. Here's something about getting into the business is that lead positions are usually for senior animators, and the reason is that they've had the experience of doing cleanup or in between work or writing timing charts, etc. And so everybody has at some point started from the bottom. And starting from an assistant's position is a really great way to learn from senior talent. You get a chance to practice your craft at the same time that you're working by doing these in between, because a lot of the legwork, a lot of the thinking work in terms of the acting and performance has already been done for you. So you get to practice more on the drawing aspect. You get to practice that craft. And then you can observe how things work. You can see how an animator would approach a shot, how they would approach timing, how they would approach spacing. And you pick up a few tricks, and likewise, you get to see what not to do. And the thing to understand though is that in today's animation industry, a lot of it is mostly about motion graphics than it is about animating. With shows that are done in Toon Boom and Flash or Photoshop or whatever, everything's sort of symbolized or puppeted or cut out, and we do a lot more moving of shapes rather than drawing everything in. in some productions, you get that opportunity to toss in a few in between drawings here and there, but it's not always going to be the case. So this is, I don't want to say a lost art, but this is definitely a niche market. It looks beautiful, but the talent behind it is very hard to come by. A lot of schools have stopped teaching 2D animation, or they teach 2D animation as a basic course, but they don't continue to expand upon it, which is a pretty sad story to hear. But really, when you get down to it, animation is about understanding life. We're like research scientists observing the world around us and taking notes. And in that, we find truth in the matter. And if we have a good, life experience, it makes us better as artists and animators. When you get out, from your desk or your cubicle or your room, and you're able to observe what's going on outside, and you're paying attention, you can take all that information and bring it back to your drawings, to your story, to your characters, because you've made things that much more interesting, or much more believable. Um, the thing to understand too is that animation is a craft. It's much like painting or sculpting. It takes many years to master. You don't want to rush it. You want to get really good at it, and then once you've become good at it, then you work on getting fast, and that is how you start to work your way up, from being that assistant to a key animator, then to layout or storyboards, or even directing. Um, Now, what I'm doing here is I'm again just following my chart, putting the drawings where I have indicated that I wanted them to go, and again in the future episode, I'll go over the whole timing chart and spacing and how all of that works. But more about this series is that all these videos are more about a general note taking for animation. I want to get into the mindset of what it means to be an animator rather than just the technical aspects of it all. I mean, there are plenty of books that'll show you how to do things, very paint by numbers, but a lot of them don't really talk about, how do you put your mindset when approaching a shot or a scene. What should you be thinking about? What should you be paying attention to? What your concerns should be. So for this first round of videos, that's what I want to approach is sort of that mentality of what it takes to be an animator, especially in this industry. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to play everything in real time, and I'm going to get rid of some of the access lines that are just tossed about, and we'll take a look at how this moves very subtly. You can see the cushioning out of one pose and cushioning into the next. And there we have a hand in motion. So again, these are more general notes, and hopefully in future episodes we'll get more in depth. Thanks for sticking around, and see you later.